Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, November 17, 2025. So, we start off with what happened on Friday's episode, and we found out that Kristen is stuck in a crypt along with her brother Tony. So we don't know who put them there, how they got there. They are oblivious to what's really going on. They're stuck in there, they're trapped, they're trying to figure out a way out because really and truly the way how the crypt is constructed, there really isn't no secret passage, no real way of getting out, right? It's just trapped with a lot of, you know, deceased Damaras at this point, right? They've realized also that with everything going on, Tony also reminded Kristen that Stefano's body is not there, the sarcophagus is not there. So they're wondering like where could it have been? And they can just feel his essence all around the place, like he's still somehow there. And I swear, like if we're gonna revamp Stefano's appearance yet again, I'm so tired of it. Like back in the day, it was so interesting for him to be rising from the dead, being the Phoenix, but I think it's just really overplayed and just enough of that, right? So they're wondering who put them there, right? So they're thinking who could possibly have anything against them because come on, they're Demiras. Like anybody would have a vendetta against them. So they think about the closest person, which is EJ, and EJ would have a motive because again, um, Tony's thinking maybe because Kristen was the one who shot him allegedly, and he wants payback. But she also thinks, why would he be there? I mean, he possibly because he put Theo in place of CEO instead of his own son Johnny. And Tony said, I did have previous conversation with him, and he did ask why Johnny wasn't considered, but I didn't think that he would want to have revenge against me. But Chris is like, don't be, that naive, right? Like you and him might be cool, but maybe he has some hidden underlying feelings against you, right? And maybe he will go after Theo unbeknownst to everybody else. But Tony's thinking maybe, maybe he won't do it because again that's Abe's son, and then there's Lexi's son as well, our sister. Like he wouldn't do that. He loves Theo that much. But again, you know, Kristen is saying, look, family doesn't mean nothing when it has to do with the bigger picture, right? But Tony seems to think he's wrapped up in the hospital. But Kristen said, look, don't be naive about it. EJ's probably using that as a front for something else really bigger, right? So Javi's up there cooking up a storm. I guess he's making birria tacos, which I definitely enjoy. And Gabby comes home and she smells it and she also wants some. So he said it seems as if we are going to be alone tonight because Leo is out I guess chasing a story. And he does tell Gabby what's the story about later on, but he also said Rafe is out doing work, and then he asks if Holly and Ari might want to join, but she said Holly and Ari are at the gala. So, anyways, she said, "What's the story Leo is chasing?" So he said that Leo has some sources that says that Tony Demir is missing. So she said, "No, I found out that Tony, just missed his ship in Greece, and he's supposed to be back with Anna at this time." So he said, "No, apparently he didn't make the port in time, and he's still really MIA, like disappearance, serious crime kind of missing, right?" So she said, I wonder who could be behind this. So then Javi is assuming that, since Gabby is angry against Tony for not making her the figurehead of Demira, maybe she has something to do with his disappearance. And she's saying, look, I've been accused falsely so many times. Like, I'm tired of it. And like, I got it from JJ, I got it from Leo, like to get it from my own family, my own cousin. Like I'm just tired of it at this point. So Javi apologized for doing that, and he's sorry for making her feel this way, right? They talk about little T and how he's missing him, and also Gabby said her Ari and Rafe missing, but she can't understand what him and Leo going through, being that they were like dads to him. So she said, I can't believe Leo even cared about anybody else other than himself. And, you and Tessara have really changed for the better. And I'm happy to see that, even though he accused me of being the one that shot EJ. So, and I'm just glad that Kristen, was the one who was responsible. So Javi said that Leo thinks that Kristen is definitely not the one who was behind it. And based on what she said, it doesn't add up. So now they're thinking who could possibly be the one that actually shot EJ, right? So Brady and Rachel are at the pub, and Rachel's not in the best mood because of what's happening with her grandma Marlena, and she just can't have an appetite. And Brady said, "Look, I understand what you're going through. We're gonna find out some information real soon." So while they were talking, EJ comes in and EJ said, I need a word with you. Can Rachel go somewhere else so that we can talk? It's really important. So, anyways, Brady and him talk, and then also, you know, Brady is saying like, what is that important? So EJ says that I didn't want to make this public, but Kristen has escaped from prison, and he's like how, why, when, where. So he said that the guards are still looking for her up and down the prisons, but it seems that she has escaped, and I didn't want it to really go further than just telling you, right? So if you hear anything, just let me know, and I will also do the same, right? So they go over to Rachel. Rachel's like, what's going on? I know that look. So she's saying, I'm old enough to know what's going on, and she's demanding an answer. So Brady said that your mom has escaped from prison. So she said, I've watched the movies before. Are they gonna have dogs and police with guns after her? Like, I don't want anything to happen to her. So he said, don't worry about it. We still don't know for sure she has actually escaped. We're still trying to find out. So EJ was trying to help, but then Brady said, no, I got this. So EJ says, anything, just let me know and I will do the same. And then he leaves. While he was leaving, Rachel said, Uncle EJ is just going to make sure something happened to her and all that. I don't trust him. So EJ walked out. So her and Brady are talking, and she said, like, do you think that she'll come to see me? Like other times. So I said no, because like you're in Salem, and that would be the first place that they look for you, right? So yeah, I don't think she would be there. So she's assuming that maybe she is really far away, right? So anyways, she's just really upset at this point. Roman comes over, and Roman also Roman updates Brady on Marlene's condition, and then um Brady and Rachel decide to go to the hospital. Roman's gonna look after her, but she says she wanted to be there and visit her grandma and everything. So Brady invites Roman because he is family regardless, and Roman said, as long as I'm not imposing. So they all went over to go see what's happening with Marlena. So Marlena is in the hospital, and she seems to be in better spirits than what she was at the gala. However, they're running some tests, and Sarah's going through with it. And she says, it's probably an issue with her heart. Like, it probably could be myocarditis, especially because she also saw some rash on her hand. And Marlene is chalking it up to, probably stress, grief, all of that. It's probably has, but Sarah's thinking it's more than that, and because of the symptoms, she thinks it's myocarditis. So right now, they're running some more tests. That's what really is happening. You know, um, Marlena is definitely, talking about how it's crazy. It's true that doctors are the worst patients, because she's just really relentless and want to really go home. She's just tired of really sitting around, not really knowing what to go do further, all of that. So Sarah understands, because when she was immobilized, she was wondering like how would she go around the best treatment plan, how did she really get through it. And Money was saying like, it takes a lot of strength, like, I don't know how you did it. And she said, it definitely was a lot, but I made it through. And I can understand what you're going through, right? So that was really it with this scene. There's more to it going further on. Belle and Eric are in the waiting room, just worried about what's going on with their mom. And Eric also takes time to really check on when Sammy's flight is landing. So Bella said hopefully by then we'll know what's going on with our mom. So while they're sitting, of course, Belle has to be the just annoying little sister at this point, because Sammy is not playing around. She's not bothering her in any way, or just antagonizing her this time around. She has made a lot of growth since then, and just wants to move forward. But yes, the Belle wants to always be snickering and self-righteous and hypocritical of Sammy's decision and who Sammy is, when she is no Belle at the ball either. Like, let's not name out what Belle has done to others, and just what like, let's not go there, right? Because honestly, I'm gonna go there because Belle acts as if she's very hip, she's holier than thou, and she has never done anything bad in her life to others, right? Like, she has cheated on Sean how many times, or she has been with her sister's ex-husband how many times, and you think that it's something moral about that, something right about that. Let's not forget that let's not forget that she has done all these little egregious things and act as if okay, she's right to call out Sammy every time, right? Yes, Sammy has done a lot of things, and yes, Sammy has treated her bad when they were younger, but like, get over it, move forward, right? Like, enough is enough. And her and Carrie always seem to pick out on Sammy every time. Like, yes, Sammy has hurt them both, but like, let's not act as if they are angels in this situation either. So she is there, making jabs at Sammy's fiance, and that he might be a mobster considering he's related to Ava Vitale. And Eric defends it and said no, he's not in the mob at all. And Will seems to like him. Will has already met him. So she said, yeah, I don't buy it and all of that. And Sammy, knowing Sammy is gonna be a disaster at any time. So Sarah does come out and let them know what's going on. And so she's thinking, maybe it's because the hospital has cut resources. Maybe that's why she didn't get any answers to as far as treatment plan earlier. So EJ comes in the midst, and of course she's gonna blame EJ for what's going on, and say how it's his fault that that this is happening. So she didn't really elaborate like what's really going on with her mom to EJ. So she leaves, and she said, like, if anything happens, like, I am going to make sure that I use my powers as DA to prosecute you to the fullest. So she leaves, and he just like, what's really going on? What did I miss? Right? So we get into that later on in the recap. So there was a conversation with Marlena and Belle is just praying that everything goes well. She can't lose another parent. And while she was there sobbing, Marlena wakes up, and Marlena's like, Belle, you've been crying. So she said no at first, but then she said yes, like, I'm just really worried about you. So she said, why are you crying? Like, look, I will be fine. Don't worry about me. And she said, don't be comforting me, and said, let's comfort each other. So she's saying, what's going on out there? She said, we're just out there, just worried about you, hoping that you pull around. And not EJ, Eric comes in, and Eric is like, he's glad to see her up and about. And she said she's sorry that his trip had to be like this. She said no. He said no, like, I'm happy to be here. I'm always gonna be here for you no matter what. So she's happy about that. Roman comes in. Roman also says the same, and Roman says, anything that you need, I'm also here, right? So they all are there to really support Marlena through this time. So back to the whole thing with EJ, and after Belle left, he was out there with Eric and Sarah. So he's like, what did I really miss? Can somebody enlighten me what's going on? So Sarah said, already know I can't really enlighten you on a patient. So he said, like, I own this hospital. So she said, yeah, I may own this hospital, but I took an oath to HIPAA. I can't tell you anything that's going on. So he's saying, yeah, you can blabber on about the hospital's finances to everybody else. Yeah. So anyways, Eric comes in. Eric's like, she's just doing her job, back off. So he's saying, look at you, how rich. And maybe I should tell Nicole that you're here defending your ex and all that. So EJ had to just be EJ and be an asshole. So he said, like, you just haven't changed yet. You haven't changed none at all, right? You're still the same SOB you are from the beginning. So he said, and you're still the same self-righteous wannabe priest or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, you are in no position to judge me, right? The man above has the position to judge me, right? So anyways, there's no love lost between Eric and EJ. They're banters as usual. So at some point, he leaves, and Sarah apologizes for him having to defend her and like really get have to deal with what EJ is putting him through, right? So he's like, Is this normally every day? So she said, on and off, yes, that's just who he is and what we have to deal with. So he said, no matter if he owns hospital, like, I'm glad that you stand up for yourself and that you're just doing your job at the end of the day. So Brady and Rachel finally make it to the hospital, and Sarah's there and Brady's just thanking her for just being there for Marlena, and he's just glad that she's in a better stable position, right? It's just a lot going on, and Rachel definitely needed this news to cheer up because um based on the recent news that he heard. So at this point, Rachel was already at the vending machine getting something, and he tells Sarah to keep it hush hush that Kristen has escaped. So she's sorry to hear that, and she can't imagine what him and Rachel are going through. And she said, "Anything I can do?" And he said, "You already been there enough for us already. You can't thank you enough." So she said, "I wish to get." That I can do something more. I can't believe Kristen had put you guys through it. So, anyways, they ended up hugging, and Rachel comes back from the vending machine and sees them. So at this point, you know how she feels when a woman starts getting close to her father. She, in her twisted, deluded, Christian like mind, she wants her mom and her dad together, like most children, but she is going about it in the wrong deranged way. I forgot to mention earlier that Eric did ask Sarah about what's going on with her and Xander. He started to hear that, like, he thought that he would have changed and turned a new page and all of that. And she said, "Me too, and it is what it is. It wasn't meant to be. I should have known better. I mean, you know what he's like. He tried to kill you already, and he's probably even worse than EJ." And I'm saying, come on, no, he's not that worse because at least Xander's actually going to therapy and trying to better himself. But Sarah doesn't see the good in him and doesn't seem to vouch for him regardless, right? She would, flip him over like the switch of a light, right? But anyways, that is about it. I did see EJ in, I guess, the secret room in the lab, whatever. He has this he has this coffin like thing, and he said, reunited family, something like that. So let's see what's happening. Is this Stefano? Comment below your thoughts. I will see you guys tomorrow.